Hi, everybody. Good food has a very important role in everyone's life. When we say good food is the foundation of happiness, or when you say I love you more than food, everyone pinpoints the relevance of food that we give in our life. Now, good food can be prepared always from good ingredients, and good food is always expected to be preserved, or we expect that it should be maintained good, so that we use different methods to keep them good. Now, to be good in a sense, it includes they should be free from microbial attack, they should be free from natural decay, and they should be also free from spoilage causing various other methods. So, the main purpose of food preservation is to prevent the food spoilage, because food is the most perishable food commodity that we come across in our life. For this, we have different methods that we use. So, as the time it comes from the market, okay, from the production line, it comes to like from the where it has been produced, it comes to the market, and then from the market it comes to the home, and then from our home, of course, it has to go enter into our body. During this time, in all these cases, what happens, there is a chance of the food to get spoiled or it to get perished. So we always try to improve the shelf life of the food, and there are different methods by which we do food preservation. Now we are going to talk about food preservation using radiation methods. So let's go into the details of that. If you go to consider the global food irradiation market, you can see that it has a US dollar of 158.65 million in 2019, and it has been expected to rise to 237.26 million by 2027. So there is a wide utility of food irradiation today in different areas. Now, what are the uses of this? It is the same procedure, that is, you radiate the food with, you take the food and expose it to certain various radiations. What are the purposes of using these food radiations? You might have noticed, if you get a normal onion or a potato in your house, okay, from the garden, and you just keep it for many days, you can see that the onions will start sprouting after many days, okay, and potato also, certain sprouts would arise on the potato. But for a farmer level, or if you are doing having a high agricultural productivity unit or something like that, the sprouting of onions as well as potato would give you loss. So to in a large area, when you grow food, of course, to prevent the sprouting or to inhibit the sprouting, you can, if you radiate it with certain if you irradiate it with certain radiations, that sprout inhibition can happen. And at the same time, if you have various cereals, pulses, and dry fruits and all that, you can see that by the time it is being stored in your godown and you reach the market, what happens, lots of insects can infest it. So to prevent the insect infestation, the radiation of the food or the irradiation of food is very much helpful. Now, coming to the next thing that we have, you have proteinaceous food, okay, like fishes. You in the market we come across different types of now food, like fish, meat, and all that. These are all protein rich food, and to increase their shelf life, okay, shelf life means that is they don't get spoiled, okay, the time at which they not become perishable time, okay, to increase their shelf life, the radiation of food or the irradiation of food will help. And moreover, you can also remember a situation which the food naturally will contain various microbes, okay, because the air is never free from germs. So from the time of production on a plant till it has been marketed and we use it, till then there are lots of pathogens which could be naturally been present on the food, and unless and until we remove them, what happens, the spoilage of food will happen. So the pathogen reduction or the reduction of the microbes which could be present on the food is being away here. Then another use is a quarantine. The term quarantine is of course quite familiar right now in the case of COVID time. So when you want to quarantine a food, okay, because of various reasons. Okay, now if a food has been coming from a COVID predominant area also, it's always better to quarantine the food. Okay, and you radiate it for some time, and then of course you can use it. There's no issues in that. So for all these purposes you can use irradiation. So as we mentioned earlier, why to irradiate food? You can prevent various foodborne illnesses caused by microbes such as Salmonella and Escherichia coli. Then you can also preserve it, okay, to destroy and to inactivate the organisms that cause spoilage and decomposition, and to extend the shelf life of food. You can also control the insects, that is the insects which have been responsible for food spoilage or deterioration of the quality of food, that could be prevented from entering the food by irradiating them. You can delay the sprouting and ripening of various vegetables as well as fruits. Then you can also, there's another situation which I didn't mention earlier. Now in the case of food that we give to the immunocompromised people, okay, the hospitals or hospital patients or something like that, what happens is they are people who have a low level of immunity. So if you give a normal unsterilized food, and probably if there is any microbe within that would result in the what, causing a disease in the person. So in such cases, irradiation of food is being used in the food servings that we give for patients with severely impaired immune system, such as the patients with AIDS or undergoing chemotherapy. Okay, now you might say we do not practice this everywhere. Of course, if you might not in your food, if you're preparing at home, if you properly boil it and you kill the microbes, that is a different case. But there are certain people who rely on ready to eat foods, okay, or there are also people who need to be given extra care. For such people, okay, it's always better to give a irradiated food to prevent the higher level of contamination that could happen to the food. Now this is an example of a sprouted onion, okay, and a sprouted potato which is happening. Now the dosage of the radiations that you have to give, a low dosage of about less than 1 kilo gray of radiations are sufficient to prevent the sprout inhibition of tubers, bulbs and rhizomes, and also to delay the ripening of the fruits, as well as an insect disinfection. That also can be done with a dosage of less than 1 kilo gray of radiations. Now if you have a proteinaceous food like meat, fish, as well as also in that, what happens, to increase the shelf life, you give 1 to 3 kilo gray of radiations, and to eliminate the pathogens you give 1 to 7 kilo gray of food, and for the hygienization of the spices you give 6 to 14 kilo gray of food. And but when you go to the case of other things, now the food, packaged food as well as the hospital diets, 5 to 25 kilo gray of food irradiation has been done. Now other than the food, we also have lots of other things, like even in the medical industry, various products are being irradiated to prevent them from microbial infestation. Now you have bandages, crepe, cotton, gauze, dressings, then sutures, medical devices now, as well as various other pharmaceutical things, pharmaceutical products which we market, they are all being irradiated according to the Drugs and Cosmetic Act rules by 1945. But the dosage of the irradiation that you give here is higher. You give about 25 kilo gray of radiation. A minimum dose of 25 kilo gray has been given, so that the count of the microbes are being less than 10 to the power of 3 CFU per unit. Okay, and you expect that the microbial contamination of those medical devices would be brought down with the help of radiations. But there are some products which are not allowed to be irradiated, of course, that I have enlisted here in the slide. You can just go through. Now, but how to radiate the food? You can use 3 main ways. Either you can use an electronic beam, or you can use a gamma rays, or you can use a X-ray. Now coming to the gamma rays are emitted from elemental cobalt 60 or cesium 137, and these are mainly been provided from nuclear reactors. In nuclear reactors now, cobalt 59 will take will be converted into cobalt 60, and that has been used here. And gamma radiation is used to routinely to sterilize medical, dental, household, as well as various other for the radiation for the treatment of cancer also we might use gamma rays in fact. Now coming to the X-rays. The X-rays are mainly produced by reflecting high energy stream of electrons of a target substance into the food, and they are widely used in medicine and industry to produce images of internal structures. Of course, you know that. And the electron beam is similar to X-rays, and it is a stream of high energy electrons propelled from an electron accelerator into the food. Now, which are the foods which are allowed to be irradiated? Beef and pork, crustaceans, fresh fruit and fruits and vegetables, lettuce and spinach, poultry, seeds for sprouting, shells, eggs, shellfish, spices and seasonings. What are the benefits of radiation? It is a cold process, and therefore unlike heat, it can be used on agricultural commodities without changing their fresh like character, and they do not alter significantly the nutritional value, flavor, texture and the appearance of food. And the radiations using cobalt 60 cannot induce any radioactivity in the food and does not leave any harmful or toxic radioactive residues on the food, as in the case of chemical fumigates. And due to the high penetrating nature, what happens, it is a very effective method, and even pre-packed food can be treated for hygienization and improving its shelf life. But the radiation processing facilities are environmental friendly and are safer to workers and public around. Now, what are the limitations that we have here? Of course, radiation process it cannot be applied to all kinds of food. There are some foods which cannot be use radiation technology, and it does not make a bad or a spoiled food look good. Okay, so that is not possible in the case of radiation. If it's spoiled, it is spoiled. And it cannot destroy already present pesticides and toxins in the food. So if you have a previous infiltration, that cannot be removed by a radiation. And amenability of a particular food commodity to radiation processing has to be tested in a laboratory. See, like you also have to have extra facility for the radiation treatment in your lab or in the food unit. Okay, and only those foods for which specific benefits are achieved by applying appropriate doses and those duly permitted under the atomic energy rules can be processed by radiations. So only if you think that the irradiation of food will give you a specific benefit, only those food are being permitted for radiations. And what about the concerns about this? It is not possible by the rules of physics to induce radioactivity into foods with cobalt 60 gamma radiation. So the question of residual radioactivity in the material does not arise. And the chemical changes in relation to the formation of free radicals are not unique to irradiation process, and they do not lead to any toxicity. And moreover, the microflora of food after irradiation at a low or a medium doses may undergo selective reduction, which is also encountered with other processes like heat. And this does not pose any health risk if foods are processed by the irradiation following the good manufacturing practice and the global irradiation practices. And irradiation does not induce any changes in microbes that potentiate their risk. On the contrary, it reduces the fitness of the survival of these microbes. Now, how do you know your food is radiated? And it has already been specified that if your food is being radiated, you should have a radiora symbol so that the consumer shall know that whether it has been treated with radiation or not. And the bulk foods such as fruits and vegetables are required to be individually labeled or to have a label next to the sale container. I hope this is clear to you. Irradiation of foods, their goods, and what are the concerns regarding their use. So with this I end this session. Thank you very much.